Hi there, good evening and welcome to the Sunday edition of This Is Exclusive, packed with insights for you this Sunday evening. Joining me on the other side of headlines would be India's former Foreign Secretary Kanwal Sibal, who's going to give us a lowdown on how the West Asia crisis is panning 1 year after the dastardly terror attack carried out by Hamas on Israeli citizens on October 7. Remember, today is October 6. Tomorrow we will be marking the first anniversary of that attack. The war continues unabated. We're going to discuss that. Also, Congress's Pakistan itch. It again wants to have talks with the terror nation when External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar lands in Islamabad to participate in the SCO summit. We're going to focus on that. Let's begin with the headlines. Jaishankar sets the record straight on Pakistan talks, but Congress politicizes, calls visit misleading. Pakistan erupts in protests. 30 PTI leaders arrested by Lahore police. 200 under the radar for terrorism charges, including former PM Imran Khan. Chennai link emerges in Delhi drug bust. South Indian drug cartel member Safi arrested and produced before Patiala House Court. After the showdown over reinstating Marshall's civil lines police, book up Emily's in Delhi. Now, after India Alliance predicted to win Jammu and Kashmir, NC exudes confidence in victory. The last headline, after Yogi's batenge to katenge remark, RSS chief backs pitch, calls for Hindu unity. All right, welcome back, friends. Joining me, former Foreign Secretary of India, Mr. Kanwal Sibal. And as I mentioned, we're going to discuss 1 year on of the Israel-Hamas war, how things are looking as we understand and see the global implications of this war. Very good evening to you, sir. And where do we stand 1 year on after the Israel-Hamas war is started? I see a wider conflagration happening. What's your assessment?
I think there's real danger that things may go out of control because Israel has now started targeting Lebanon in a very big way. Iran has reacted by sending a barrage of missiles and hitting the military bases in Israel. And Prime Minister Netanyahu has sworn that Israel is going to retaliate. And people expect that he might do so tomorrow. There is a possibility, although the Americans are cautioning him against it, of attacking the energy infrastructure, the Kharg Island, for instance, of Iran. And Iranians have informally, not officially, conveyed that if this happens, then they will begin destroying the energy infrastructure in West Asia as a whole, whether in Saudi Arabia or Iraq or wherever else, or UAE. I don't know if all this will happen, but if it does, we have to, in India, worry very seriously about the consequences of this. Because 80% of our energy is coming from this area. We have 8 million expatriates in this area. We have so many remittances coming from this area. If the worst happens, we will suffer. And we will suffer both because of Tehran as well as Israel at Tel Aviv. Both will be responsible. Because I agree that Israel attack on Israel on October 7 was indefensible by any standard. But what Israel has done in return after the initial retaliations,
yes, sir,
is also indefensible because they have just gone berserk. They're killing civilians by the hundreds, by the thousands, both in Gaza as well as in Lebanon, and extending the war. They're hitting at Syria also. Now, Macron, for example, has said that there should be some ban on arms supplies to Israel. And Manila has reacted, calling Macron's statement a disgrace. They have gone ahead and declared the UN Secretary General persona non grata. This is almost unprecedented.
Yeah.
The UN Secretary General has been declared as persona non grata by Israel, the head of the United Nations. So things are not good at all, and we should worry about where things are headed because America is in an election mode.
Yeah.
And they are not in a position to control the events because this will cost them. Democrats cost them the election, and here we are, therefore.
US, of course, has been very ineffective, sir, it seems, partly because of a lame duck administration there, and maybe in good measure because the Democrats don't have much leverage with the present Israeli government. But I'm glad that you mentioned about Israel's response, because even that was on my mind also, Mr. Sibal. This whole debate on proportionate versus disproportionate response, and the Israelis being very touchy about this issue, where do we see the end of this? At some stage, Israel would have to decide that, okay, fine, we have achieved our military objectives, made a point, should we move on, or should they move on?
They won't achieve their military objectives. How will they do that? Are they going to actually militarily defeat Iran on its home ground, in the sense that they will attack its military installations as well as its nuclear capabilities? Iran has shown its capacity to hit back and are threatening to hit back with even more lethal weapons. So this will go on. And America has positioned its aircraft carriers and other ground forces in this region and are threatening to intervene, and already are helping Tehran in its strikes. This will mean that U.S. can easily get caught in this building up of conflagration in this area, and they may seek the opportunity again to get rid of Iran's nuclear weapon. I mean, the possibilities of what might happen are frightening, and India should be deeply concerned. We have excellent relations with Israel. We have excellent relations personally with Netanyahu, but that doesn't mean that Netanyahu should not be controlled. If our Prime Minister can tell Putin it's not an era of war, he can tell Netanyahu also it's not an era of war.
Sir, also, at one level, it was as simple as somebody, some side, some nation, some organization mediating and getting those hostages back, and perhaps the war would have ended. Why that simple thing has not happened? Nobody has leverage with Hamas enough for getting the hostages out?
Well, there was concern right at the beginning, serious concern in some quarters, including in India, that it would be very dangerous if Israel decided that they will sacrifice, or they can sacrifice, the hostages. Which means that unlike in the past, when they retained their reaction and actually had big exchanges of hostages or prisoners on both sides, the fact that they might actually turn their backs on hostages means that they would like to have a free hand than to do it what they want in terms of retaliation, and this is what happened. They have ignored, after an initial exchange, that they have turned their backs. And I heard today that, in fact, the relatives of hostages and those in Tel Aviv who were wanting hostages exchange, and there were huge demonstrations, all that has petered out. All that has petered out. And there were only 500 demonstrators today, and some of them were abused. The mothers of some hostages were abused. This I heard on television. True or not, point is that the fact that the hostages have been kept aside means that Israel wants to have a free hand to do what it likes. But it cannot have a free hand. There cannot be, after all, if our Prime Minister says quite rightly that no solution can be found on the battlefield, why is that different from what is happening in West Asia? It's the same situation.
True.
In terms of not being able to find a solution through war.
Also, sir, 1 year on, can we say conclusively that in many ways, this crisis that's panning out in front of us is essentially a byproduct of the Shia-Sunni divide in the Middle East geography. But for this divide, there was already peace building up between Israel and the Arab states, and nobody stopped Iran from joining it, but for the dynamics of the Shia-Sunni divide playing out.
Well, to some extent, you are right, in the sense that UAE normalized ties with Israel, so did Morocco, so did Bahrain. Saudi Arabia was in the process of opening up to Israel. We had the ITU2, we had the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. All those were signs that, as part of the Abrahamic Accords, the Gulf monarchies were willing to actually do serious business with Israel and, in effect, recognize Israel. And now that has received a huge setback because of what Hamas did. Now, Iran clearly, which wants the leadership of the Islamic world and feels that the Arabs are not doing enough for the Palestinians, has taken upon itself to be actually the custodian of the future security of the Palestinians. So to that extent, you're right. Whether you call it a Shia-Sunni thing or a regional competition for power between Iran, which actually is the biggest and the most powerful regional country compared to any other Gulf monarchy, whether it is power politics, that one can always debate. But yes, at the back of it, there is a degree of Arab-Iranian rivalry. But the last point in this, important point in this, is that Iran, irrespective of all this, the Shia-Sunni business, has had very close relations with Lebanon, historically.
Yeah.
And in fact, when the revolution took place in 1979, and there were attempts to overthrow the mullah regime even at that time, actually, the Lebanese, the Palestinians, they came and actually on the ground supported the new regime with their presence in terms of controlling a potential reaction.
Yeah.
And from that, there are very old religious connections, and therefore, like France feels that it has certain obligations for Lebanon, so does Iran.
Right, sir. And my last question to you, sir, finally, what would it take? Tomorrow marks the 1 year of October 7 terror attack by Hamas. What would it take really for a ceasefire at least to come in, if not the end of the total war that we are seeing panning out?
Well, the ceasefire can take place only if the United States pushes for it, which means that it has to, if it can, warn Israel that do not please complicate the elections in the United States. If they threaten to stop the supply of weapons, which I don't think they would want to, or they can politically do that, Israel will be left in a very difficult position. So Israel, in that sense, has a sense of impunity and feels that it can do what it wants. And there is an urge to seek revenge for what happened on October 7th. And revenge, in any circumstances, is not a good guide for policy making. But who's going to tell Israel this? Everybody is virtually silent on this, because unless America actually takes a firm stance, Israel will not be deterred, because they feel that they have control over the American political process.
Yeah, I had said that was my last question, sir, but still, one more question comes to my mind from what you just said. This is effectively the third Israel-Lebanon war. How does it really matter that this time again the Israelis would be effectively decimating the military infrastructure of Hezbollah like they have done of Hamas? Another 10 years, 5 years, perhaps it could again be up? And then what happens?
This is what they did in 2006. They occupied Lebanon, and then they had to leave because it became very costly for them in terms of lives and military retaliation by the Hezbollah groups. So I think even if they have short-term victory or gains on the battlefield now, they'll find it very difficult to sustain. But see, don't forget, it's a very small country. There's a very small population.
Yeah.
And the economy has received a huge setback of what is happening today. And they have to be supported from outside. They can't sustain it, even if they went into southern Lebanon. It's going to be a very, very difficult task. Now, for the short term, whether Netanyahu wants to protect his future, everybody, some people say that, look, he feels that if he stops the war, if he had a ceasefire, he'll be removed from power and he might be tried because there are cases against him. There are the personal reasons for him to continue the war in a way that Zelensky also wants to continue the war. I don't have a view on this, but I'm just saying what the general view is. So I don't think that this is a good strategy on the part of Israel to occupy more and more land, including what they're doing on the West Bank, and then say that we can have peace. I don't think that'll happen.
Right. Still hoping, sir, that peace prevails somehow and the hostages are returned so that there is a reason for Israel to roll back the war on the first anniversary. Thank you so much, Mr. Sibal, for joining us with those deep insights on the ongoing Middle East, West Asia situation. Moving on, friends, and to our neighbor still to the west, Pakistan, which is in a state of turmoil and unrest because of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, the party of former Prime Minister Imran Khan, who happens to be in jail, has been protesting. In fact, Islamabad is effectively in a state of shutdown, and the reason is that on 14th and 15th, it's going to host the SCO Summit, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. And in between these protests happening, that's why about 30 odd leaders of the PTI have been arrested today, also by the Pakistan government. Pashtun movement, the PTM, Pashtun Tahaffuz movement, has been banned. Joining me from Islamabad, Rana Mali. He's a correspondent there speaking to us. Rana, please tell us why these PTI leaders have been arrested. Were they protesting in a zone which is under the control of army now, or is it because of a call made by Imran Khan?
Let me tell you that on Friday, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf announced a large protest at D Chowk. D Chowk is the place where a red zone starts. The red zone is the place where all embassies and government officials, offices, PM House, Presidency, and Parliament House is also at a red zone. Well, PTI has announced that all supporters and the KP CM, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa CM, Ali Aman Gandapur was leading the men rally from KP province towards the Islamabad. Islamabad police completely sealed for 2 days Islamabad and all entering points with shipping containers. Even heavy police person, FC, and after a few days, army personnel was also summoned and also put on the roads. Now Islamabad is completely under control of army because SCO summit will be held in 15th and 16th October, where all international state leaders will come and join SCO, and police personnel was also martyred during clashes between PTI supporters and
Also, Rana, this banning of PTM by the government in Pakistan today, how is it going to affect the Pashtun movement on the ground, particularly in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and also in Karachi?
Yes, the government of Pakistan today has issued a notification on which he banned the PTM. Absolutely, it will surely affect very effectively their movements because they are protesting for many years for peace. Even they are marching for peace and peace rallies in KP. Even the Pashtun movement leaders also many times arrested. Even today, the government officially announced a ban for Pashtun movement. So definitely it will be affect their movements and their rallies. So now they banned, they can't move any rallies, or they can't organize any little bit of organize any parties or any convention in the view of this letter after banning.
Okay, Rana, एक और बात बताइए, there is this report which suggests that the chief advisor of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Chief Minister Gandapur of the PTI has Mohammad Ali Saif. He has suggested that he would invite India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar when he is coming for the SCO summit to one of those protests. Why has he said so?
Yes, in a private TV channel show, Pastor Saif suggested that Jaishankar should come there, protest and join PTI PTI protesting at D Chowk. He invited Jaishankar. After this invitation, the PTI government was badly criticized by Pakistan government and other political parties because they said that why Barrister Saif only invited Indian external affairs ministers. Many other countries' representatives also coming in Pakistan. Why they cannot invited others? Why they only invited Jaishankar? And in government also, government information minister also criticized their statement. Even Barrister Gohar Ali Khan now is the chairman of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf.
Okay.
He said that this is not our party policies. Even the government taking it wrong, the statement given by the Barrister Saif.
Okay, thank you so much, Rana Malli, there with those details about what's happening in Islamabad as it builds up to the SCO summit slated to take place this week. Clearly, a law and order situation already panning out, and the police there not capable of handling, and hence army being given the role of safety of VIPs. That's the situation there in Islamabad. Thank you so much, Rana Malli, for joining us. With this, we come to an end of this edition of This Is Exclusive. On the other side of a short break, join me as I discuss the details of Israel-Palestine conflict going back millennia, the historical account of why this war is panning out in West Asia. Thanks for watching.